Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends live roundtable. We are so pumped to be with you today. My name is Scott Schweitzer. I'm the host. We have Amy Radowski, Kath Cheer, and Charlie Odie with us. The typical gang. I finally feel human again after the semifinals, and I'm so excited to get into some CrossFit talk today. Kat and I were in on the CrossFit press conference. So I'm going to turn it over to her to get her first impressions, and then I'll fill in where I had some impressions as well. And Kat's frozen.
Yeah, you start, and I'll go soon. I'll be at the gym. So you start.
Okay. So the press conference opened up with Justin Berg and Adrian Bozman only, and they gave like opening statements about the semifinal season. Justin Berg admitted that there were gaps in communication, but they have learned from that and really want to lean into this format going forward. So I think that's an indication that is moving in the same direction next year as we were doing this year. He did acknowledge the PFAA, and he did say the PFAA turned in recommendations and standards well before the semifinal events. Then Boz got on and piggybacked on that and said that they reviewed those requests and made a decision based on that. It wasn't that they were ignored. It's just those were the decisions that they made.
And do they regret those decisions?
That was not in the press conference.
Okay. That's what I would be like, a follow-up question, please. Do you regret that?
So it's funny because Brent Fikowski was one of the athlete guests, but he didn't come on during that time. So they did 20 minutes. Well, they were supposed to do 20 minutes of Justin Berg and Adrian Bozman, but it started late. So we only got 5 questions to Boz and Justin Berg. And one of those was our very own Kat Shear, who asked about the judging standards and should there be further certification. And if I mess this up, Kat, correct me. But I think what you said was, should there be further certification? Should they be paid? Have you reviewed the process? And are there going to be any changes after that?
Right, prior to Madison.
And Boz answered with that this is not a new issue, that these are issues that have been going on for a very long time, and stated that the games finals judges are paid. And it's been that way since the Carson days.
Yeah, it's the seminar staff are paid.
Right.
For their time to judge.
But you judge at the games.
Yeah, well, and there are no seminar staff people judging at these semifinals, which is kind of more of like what everybody's problem is right now, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, he likes to qualify when he answers questions. He sort of likes to say like, well, that's a misconception. Because I said there's been a lot of scrutiny lately around judging. That's not a misconception. That's a fact. I think he thinks the misconception is that maybe he thought I said that this was new. I did not say that it was new. Him saying that it's not new is not a positive thing for him to say.
No.
It's been a problem since Carson. That's a problem too. But yeah, I wanted to know, are they considering more training for judges, more certifications for judges, payment of judges? And then he's basically just said judges are paid, and it's something that we're considering moving forward. So
he used very specific words.
Yeah, he said that online
like
judges,
games, finals judges.
Yeah, and I wasn't paid.
So Andrew says, it would be interesting to figure out how much events would have to increase fees in order to pay judges in some fashion.
So that was kind of addressed in the press conference as well, not directly at judges, but that there are limited funds for payouts even of athletes. Because there has been criticism of, the $5,000 for winning a semifinal But he's like, the growth of the sport is not at a level yet where they can increase that amount of money.
Was that a later question that I missed after I had to drop off?
They talk in a way that's very weird to follow.
Yeah.
They're very selective on the exact words that they use. And so that, like, by semantics, they're correct. But it leads you to believe that they have done more than what they have done. And that is my opinion.
Yeah.
That is me listening in to that as an opinion.
All right, so let's look at what Andrew just said. He just said it shows that CrossFit HQ doesn't think much about the judges who judge teams and age groups.
This is true.
Yep.
Well, and I think
I don't think they think much of teams and age groups.
In
right,
general,
exactly. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
more than just the judges. I think it's the athletes as well.
Right.
And even when you say, yeah, we heard from the PFAA and we read their comments and we made our decision, you're saying you don't really care what they had to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you didn't change anything.
Right.
Yeah.
Didn't do what
And-
was asked.
And then there was a question that came in about, well, why did strength and depth change the height of the bars for taller athletes, but Atlas and Granite did not? And Justin Berg was saying that is up to event organizers, and they need to own that. But they did admit there needs to be more accountability from CrossFit HQ in those decisions.
Or
But
any
then-
kind of accountability.
But then when somebody said, okay, so you've put this into the event coordinator's hands, he corrected them and said, no, that's not the case. in a different question.
Yeah, it's, and you have to read a lot into it. Yeah. Well, we only got 5 questions, so we had to read into different things as they were kind of answering other questions.
Right.
That's really all I had.
Well, you
from
asked a
the-
question.
Yeah, that's all I had from the Berg Boz section.
Got it.
And then it went to the athletes, and it was a lot of like typical questions you get in different podcasts, like what's your training like? What advice would you give to rookies coming into the games? You know, things like that. My question was,
Sorry. There we go. I'm
my
back.
question was that the 3 athletes they had on, which were Brent Fikowski, Lazar Dukic, and Emma McQuaid, all competed online in a semifinal event last year with consistent programming throughout. And this year they all were live with semifinal programming. And I asked what their takeaways were from last year to this year.
That was a great question.
And they really, the 3 of them really stuck to online versus live. And they did not criticize either way of programming, or I think they were very careful not to get into a decision about what they thought of the programming either way.
Mhm.
Right. Like if you had a chance to ask that question before the athletes came on, it would have been more direct to Justin and Boz about the difference. You know, do you think it was fair and all that kind of stuff? But because I was the same way, there were questions I wanted to ask that I didn't get to ask, that had I gotten the chance to ask when athletes were present,
Yeah.
I would have geared it towards the athletes, but try to get my question in, kind of a thing. So it was difficult. But you did.
So
good.
they all just were like, the anxiety that online competition caused was tremendous, because you didn't know at the end of the day if your place was true or if there
Sure.
were going to be decisions made 5 days later that impacted where you placed.
Sure.
And then Emma McQuaid said that she thought the 2 workouts that were the same this year were fun because it did give you that opportunity to see where you stand with some of the big names in the sport
Mhm.
that are good at like lifting. Am I really as weak as I think I am? So it was an interesting conversation, but the fun thing after Kat had to drop off was that Brent actually asked to ask a question.
Ooh.
And he asked it of Emma, and that her and Jacqueline were going back and forth all weekend long. And how much did that impact her performance?
Uh-huh.
And she had said that her advice to a younger person would be to stay in their own lane and worry about event and event. She goes, I didn't follow my own advice. And I took a couple of risks to try to beat Jacqueline, and they didn't pay off. I got a no rep on a rope climb. And I learned that for the last event, I need to stay in my own lane and just finish the competition.
Mm-hmm.
But she said, I'd rather make that decision in a semifinal than to make it at the games.
Sure.
And to kind of learn. So I thought that was pretty cool that Brent was watching watching a strength and depth, and then had that question for Emma.
Yeah.
But overall, it was much better than last time.
Yeah, it was much better than last time. Well, it was just more equitable because other people got to ask questions. And I had 4 questions that I had submitted ahead of time, and I actually put them to the moderators during the thing, and I only got to ask the one. But we didn't talk about.
I think they asked one of yours after you left.
Oh, they did? What? Which one? The last chance qualifier stuff? Did they talk about that?
Yes.
Oh, good. What did they say about it? Because I still do not know what's happening with that one.
It is June 27th. Stuff will be revealed, but there will be no equipment that is out of the ordinary.
Okay.
And any gym should have the equipment that is needed. It will go through the July 1st. And
so that's like Tuesday to Friday? It's a super weird.
I may have the dates wrong. I was trying to jot it down as he was talking.
Mm-hmm.
But it's that week. It's before 4th of July weekend.
Okay. Did they talk about the format of it at all? Like, are we going to be able to watch it? Are they going to broadcast?
I think it's just like last year. Yeah. It's going to be done like quarterfinals.
Yeah.
So nothing, just people decide to.
Yeah, like highlights at the end of each piece.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that one did get asked. They did not. They did not credit to you.
Yeah,
that question.
But they talked about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good.
And then one guy did ask about PEDs, and I did want to bring up that they did actually say that there are people that have been tested that had adverse results, and either further testing had to go on or they're in the middle of the appeal process. And their policy has always been not to release any information until it's the whole way through the process.
Damn. I missed that. You know why I missed that?
Yeah. So we're saying, okay, people already who have qualified may not be going because they're in this.
People that have been tested as a result of a semifinal, they go pretty deep in the semifinal. Yeah, so it may not be people that actually qualified, but people that have been tested at semifinals. Why did I not hear that? I think you know why.
It was the guy from South America.
Yeah, it was before. It was during the Justin Boz thing, right? I think what happened was Andrew unmuted my mic in the middle of them answering that question, and I did like they were calling on me next. And I blanked out because I didn't hear any of that.
To listen.
And so
I was just like, what's my question? What's my question?
So from being where I was at Mac and Syndicate, I was right in between the athlete area and the drug testing.
Yeah. I remember.
And so they were, they went 10 deep individuals.
Yeah.
Because last year what happened is there were people that popped and then they had to drug test the next person. So I think this year they went 10 deep. So if they have to go down the line, that person has already been drug tested.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Backfilling for drugs.
Yeah.
Now, on the team side, only 2 of the team members are selected to be drug tested.
Interesting. Cost-cutting measure?
It's done randomly. The team does not know who it is until they walk into drug testing, and 2 are picked out of a hat, and 2 are released.
I'd like to be the one that decides. I think you're juicing. I'm going to
right.
That's exactly. It's not out of a hat. It's like Look like you gained
Right.
20 pounds.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said
overnight.
out of a hat because I do not know the actual
You don't know how they select.
apparatus they use to do that.
Charlie would definitely love that job. Just to be
Yes.
like,
Oh, you're coming with
You.
me.
and then
Yep.
on the side be like, hey,
Just to
just
see.
if you just give them to me.
So you pop for this, this, and this. Where'd you get it?
Right.
And I'll let you ride.
That's funny.
Someone did a funny thing was someone asked Brent why he trains alone and not with like a team.
Yeah.
And he said he likes to chat too much and gets nothing done when he works out with other people.
I
cute.
do agree with that because after we interviewed him, we chatted for like 30 more minutes.
I know.
Well, I had to get off at 11:45 because I had a client coming in, and every time someone asked him a question, I was like, oh gosh, like we're never going to be done, because he loves to talk, and he gives very good, eloquent answers too. But
Yes.
like I kept raising my hand every time he would start talking. I'd unraise my hand because I'm like, I'm not going to have time to ask this.
His first response to what advice would you give to the rookies going this year was, don't beat me.
Don't beat me. Don't try to beat me because you're not going to, is what he said.
Yeah.
That
There was
great.
an interesting part about that bar height where Justin Berg did say it didn't affect any game spots. And I want to know how he knows that. Because I
Probably
watched
here.
Matt DeLugos do those pull-ups, and
Right.
he was definitely affected
Yes.
Yeah.
a lot on that pull-up bar.
Oh Lord. Yeah, that stinks. I have a question, Scott. Did you get invited to the press conference, or did someone forward you the invite like the last time?
I got invited.
You're so fancy.
Look at this.
That
guy.
is very promising for our hope to go to the games. That's really good.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really excited about that when I saw the email come in.
Very cool.
And that they called on us, and
Yeah.
I think we represented well.
Yeah, we did. I think we had well thought out questions, and they weren't. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw
I
what
still-
you had, and so I focused mine on athletes so
Mhm.
that we could like hit
Yeah.
both sides of the press conference.
No, that was good. The questions that I wanted to ask that did not get answered were, I wanted to know if based on what they've seen so far in the semifinals, are they planning to make any wholesale changes to the next year's season, 2023? Because they did say that the 2023 rule book will be coming out earlier than ever. And I didn't get to ask that, and I probably wouldn't have got answered anyway. But everything else that we talked about, I mean, I had like a softball question too about, what are they most proud of with the semifinals? And they kind of already talked about that prior to it starting anyway. So yeah, it was good.
Well, I think that's a great segue as to like looking at wholesale changes.
Mhm.
Charlie brought it up before we went on the air that Dave Castro is now starting a weekly debrief of of what he does during the week for his new role at CrossFit.
Oh, is this on his Instagram?
It is on his YouTube.
He has a YouTube?
He does.
Apparently he does now.
Wow.
So first of
Cool.
all, just to let you know, he will, and I'll go ahead and promote another podcast. He is going to be on Savant tomorrow.
Oh, good. Cool.
So if you want to check that out, this one, he said that his role is to help Gary Gaines
Mhm.
with gyms and affiliates and Nicole.
Okay.
So he's going to be back in the training aspect of things. But one of the consistent pieces of feedback he's getting from affiliates is that when CrossFit went away from the regionals, they lost the community aspect of that competition
Yeah, for sure.
because they were local enough that you could road trip as a group from the gym to go see regionals.
Right.
And especially because he was in Texas and two California gyms last week. That was consistent to them, and there were no semifinals near Texas or California.
Right.
Hmm.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
And apparently everyone likes the L2.
Yeah, like I think way more. What he was saying was way more than the L1.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh, it's heads and shoulders. Yeah, it's completely different.
totally.
I want them to figure out the L4. There is no path to L4 right now. And you've got L4s are OG dinosaurs in the space. Not to say that they're not amazing coaches, but like I think there needs to be like a recertification process for L4s, because I don't believe that there is, except for maybe having enough CEUs to keep it. But
Yeah.
whatever you had to do to become an L4, I think you should have to retest, every 3 years, like you do for the, well, you don't have to for the L3, but you know what I mean? Like you're supposed to be the best coach ever. And some of these L4s that are walking around got their L4s back in 2012, on the ranch on a weekend,
Yeah.
whatever. And I would like it to be, I want there to be a process for it.
That's ironic because I hurt my L5. So it's weird.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you need to work on that L5, Mr. Mobility.
Yeah, don't forget to go to mobilitymovement.com, MVMNT. Use the code Clydesdale free month, and you can get a free month of mobility from Mobility Movement.
So I'd be curious to know. So I sent you guys a podcast the other day that I found to be super interesting, but it was talking about the business aspect of CrossFit, and I wonder what they are going to be doing to help affiliates like be able to run a business, like if that is going to be more in their development, and will Castro be a part of that aspect?
Yeah, I think we talked about it briefly last week when he first came back. It's going to be a tightrope at HQ with basically the legend in the building and people trying to do what was formerly his job.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
I think that's going to be a tight rope to walk. And I think it falls in with what Tomas is saying here. Do you think Castro being just an advisor will work? And one, I think it's going to be on Dave to play nice in the sandbox and stick to his lane,
She's always done so well.
But
yeah,
Dave gets shit done. I mean,
right. But I do want to say in his conversation, the recap was he is not driving conversations when he's going out to these affiliates. He's letting them dictate what the conversation is.
okay.
And really just listening. That's what he said he's trying to do, is hear what everyone is saying out there.
Yeah. That's great. But
So
I'm curious to see how this will develop.
It sounded like a different Dave.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to, and Charlie, you listen to it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's more, I don't know if it's a way that he's kind of not catering, but kind of laying back and kind of getting more information, as opposed to him just telling his opinion and keep going and forcing that on it. But I don't know if that's a play or if that's a.
Well,
He's always up to something.
To be honest, he's not busy right now, right?
True.
He's not programming and he's not testing and he's not doing all this stuff. He has time to just sit back and kind of get information, probably for the first time in his career. So I'm excited.
I remember when his title was changed to just the games and he was removed from, they started creating these pillars, training and education. And he was on multiple occasions pretty verbal about the fact that that wasn't the greatest thing for him to have had happen. Like he really had an attachment to that training and education piece, which is what he basically created with Nicole. And the fact that, hopefully he's going to get to impact that again is, I think, pretty cool.
Well, he was an instructor in the Navy, in BUD/S. Right. That was his life, as being a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So you take away that main component of somebody. I mean, I think he dove into the game stuff. He tested more than he ever tested before and did all that, but maybe that wasn't healthy.
What's it going to be like for Dave to go to the games this year?
That's
going to be crazy.
I'm sure he will go.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But like, he's either going to have the best time or the worst time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's either going to be so awesome because he doesn't have to worry about anything and he can just hang and meet and mingle and, do his affiliate thing, or it's going to be freaking torture for him to sit there and watch and want to be, leading it, guiding it, all that kind of stuff. I don't know.
Oh. Yeah, I think he's going to hear more than he's ever heard about the games if he's there. Like, everybody's going to take the opportunity to give him feedback as to how the games are this year in comparison to what they were.
Meaning, like, they're going to be like, the game sucked without you?
Yeah, so one of his responsibilities is affiliates. So you got to think that he will be in the affiliate lounge.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And those affiliate owners are going to take that opportunity to give him feedback on this year's games, on past year's games, on, like, that's their opportunity to kind of unload what they've wanted to say to him for a very long time.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and will he be able to provide what he wants to during that time, or is he going to be bombarded by people wanting to? I get what you're trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, like celebrity Dave versus
Right.
just affiliate Dave.
Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be like a balance for a couple of years till that gets sorted out.
It'll probably be one.
Yeah,
Because
and Andrew,
shit
you're right.
shows.
I think with Dave's background, he will, honor the chain of command. I'm not suggesting that he wouldn't, but I just think internally it might be difficult for him to do that.
Well, and I think it's even more difficult on the people in his current position, looking over their shoulders, and even if it isn't put pressure on by him himself, but just inherently.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
So I got two quick little fun things to kind of finish up the show with.
Okay.
Have you seen the Nano 6000?
No.
What is that? Is that a shoe?
It is the new shoe, the new Reebok Nano. And it is like,
6,000.
yeah, it is. I think it's like a one-off. It's not part of the series.
Okay.
But it's like a throwback to the origins of Reebok, and they look fantastic.
Well, can we see them?
Is it a CrossFit shoe?
Yeah, it's a Nano. Are you trying to pull it up, Kat?
Yeah. Well, right now I'm on here. We'll share this for now, for starters. This is Dave Castro's YouTube page. What are we looking up? Reebok Nano 6000.
That blue, that first one.
This guy?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it looks good.
That's an X2 training
Oh, is
shoe.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it
Right
looked
here.
like on the, because I got an email.
You'd think it would be on the Reebok homepage.
You would think.
Here we go.
Yeah.
They're only $135. Is that what they
It's
usually
about-
are?
Yeah.
I just bought a pair of rad shoes for $150. So digital blue. Oh, look, and they're selling them like unisex. They don't usually do that, do they?
No.
It's usually male, female. Those are cool.
Yeah, I like the
Ooh.
color. That one I'm not a fan of, but
You like this one?
yeah, I like
That's-
that one.
that's like
and I
our
like the black
Clydesdale
and white
blue.
one. Yeah.
Fancy. Yeah, I like these two. I like the gray. I'm a gray kind of gal.
Yeah, I like that one too.
All right, well, I gotta wait until they go on sale on Amazon.
And the last thing I wanted to kind of finish with is, and Amy had to shoot out of here because she's having a work issue.
I love how we're
Um,
all Clydesdale media whenever we comment. It's just
Yeah, so
we're
it's just
all-
guessing.
It's just us. Who's talking?
Yeah. So
me.
is the final competition for Sam Briggs and Dani Horan.
Yeah.
And I went back and listened to your interview with Dani, Kat.
Mm-hmm.
And like, if people forget, she is like OG as OG gets. And she was a staple at at the CrossFit Games for many, many years.
Yeah, and in my region, like in the Northeast Mid-Atlantic region, which is cool.
And she talks in there about that aging out of the sport, which I thought was like one of the best conversations you or I have had, or Charlie or Amy, with any of the athletes.
Mm-hmm.
At first she was very standoffish, and I think she was like just seeing where you were going to go with the interview. And
Mm-hmm.
then when she trusted you, she went into this very vulnerable state of talking about aging out of the sport and how she was so injured the last few years and really didn't think she was going to make semifinals. And then when she did, like, it was about having the most fun she could have in that last event and not comparing herself to her younger self.
Yeah. Yeah. And then did you see the post that where she talked about she was cleaning up? She was doing like all the sort of equipment work after each heat. She would put her stuff back and all that, which was really cool because nobody really thinks about that.
So
Right.
Is Sam going to do the last chance?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. She has an interview today to be a firefighter in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
So, so now that we're on Sam, I don't know if you saw the newest Buttery Bros, but Chloe Wilson is in it doing a competition with Julian and his new girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
And she talks about Sam texting her or messaging her and begging her to do the last chance qualifier and to not cheat her out of getting to root for her.
Oh, wait. Chloe was texting Sam?
Sam was texting Chloe.
Oh, because was Chloe considering not doing it? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
After
that's
Granite
cool.
Games, she said, I'm not doing it again.
Oh, okay.
And actually the Buttery Bros put out like an AP, like an all call to everybody. DM her, tell her she needs to do it. We need to have
Got it.
her.
Oh,
And
that's
then
cool.
Sam actually texted her.
Can
said,
you imagine? Wow.
And Chloe talks about it as like she was that she was like her hero growing up. Like when Chloe first got into the sport, it was Lindsay Valenzuela and Sam Briggs and like she was fangirling that Sam actually messaged her.
That's cool. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, and Dallas is requesting that we have Dani on for a full episode.
Yeah. There were a handful of people that we interviewed prior to those semifinals that would make really good full length interviews. That was really
we will
fun.
do that, Dallas, as long as you promise to come on and ask her some questions yourself through the chat. Yeah, I'm already rolling through like a Rolodex in my head, like for the past few days, about what the lineup will be going up to the games.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those will be people that we met along the way that are either doing last chance qualifier or have punched their ticket to the game.
Mm-hmm. And I'd like to try to do, and maybe this is a side thing, but I would like to try to do some of the qualifiers for the age groups. The games qualifiers, age groups, maybe like, a couple from each, just to, again, sort of just put them in the spotlight a little bit, because no one ever necessarily talks about them too much. So we'll see if we can put something together for that as well. I think that would be neat.
Yeah, and we've got a couple things out there right now trying to pull them in. And the one thing I really want to do is get Freya Moosberger back on, because
I know
the audio went bad
sucked
on her interview. She punched her ticket to the games, and she deserves an episode that is better quality than what we gave.
Yeah. That was so weird.
Yeah. Of all the 109 that we did, that is the only one that failed.
Yeah. And no, it wasn't like I was in a different place or anything. I was right here.
Yeah, I think it was just a technical glitch at the time.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have anything else? Any last thoughts on Sam? I actually broke my heart when I read that she had posted that if her body would hold up, she'd do it for 10 more years.
I know. That was hard to, yeah. Darn it, this sport.
Yeah.
But she had a long run. I mean, a lot of professional athletes don't don't last as long as she did. And it's just her personality and her grace and the way she carries herself and the way she treats other people. Just like she should stay around somehow.
So does that mean she won't do Masters?
Doesn't sound like it.
It doesn't sound like it. Yeah. And she's part of one of my greatest memories of all time. And that is
when you were
the
doing
Open this year and wanting to quit and her yelling at me that this is not the time to rest.
This is not the time to rest.
Pick up that bar.
That's great.
And that will always be one of my favorite memories of all time. And she was so nice afterwards to come over and kind of explain why she yelled at me afterwards when I was fanboying that I just got yelled at by Sam Briggs. And she was like, well, this is why. And I said, well, I understand that. And I just love that you did it. So.
Yeah, maybe we will see her at the Legends category at Rogue this year. I think I said something to Dani Horan about that too during our interview, that she should absolutely, be one of those people in that Legends category, especially the way they did it this past year, because their first year in 2019 when they did it, it was legit competition, one-on-one. People were doing workouts, ring muscle ups for reps and things like that, and it was, people struggled with it. And so the fact that they turned it into this sort of, just fun, like a party category, and teaming up with different athletes for different events and stuff was really cool. It was really more like an exhibition and a safe way to do it. And I hope that format continues so that other people that might not want to do it because they're just afraid their fitness would fail them could do a format like that.
Because I was at Rogue that year, and those legends were hanging around the facility all weekend.
Yeah.
Right. Because they only did a couple workouts, and the rest of the time they were there doing PR and shaking hands and taking pictures. And and that's one of the aspects that makes Rogue such a cool event to go to.
Yeah. Because there's more to it than just the competition. There's, there's all that other stuff that happens. Very cool.
Yeah. Well, we have to go. We have another interview this afternoon, and I got to do some work in between. So I'm going to pump out some C4.
Sounds good. Go
to c4energy.com. Use Clydesdale. It gets 20% off all of the Extend and Cellucor products. And if you need to pick up a can of this, the code doesn't work because it takes you to Amazon. But we are really trying to figure that out.
I just ordered some on Amazon. I didn't care. It's good enough. You don't need a discount.
True. Whoop. Too many people have access to put the comments up, and we keep like.
Yeah, I had a nice conversation with Chris Spieler. Made my weekend. Yeah. I mean, that was just such a cool experience for everybody, I think.
Yeah, and some of those legends are just the nicest people.
Yeah, Tanya Wagner. I got to judge Tanya Wagner in that muscle up event, and she didn't finish. And so it was kind of cool to just sort of hang out with her in her lane while everyone else was working. Yeah, that was neat.
Yeah, awesome. Well, guys, we will catch you next week. We have Cold Grease Saber.
Cold Grease Saber.
I'm bummed this afternoon.
I'm gonna miss that one. I'm bummed.
And I've reached out to his camp to heckle him while he's on.
Good, perfect. Maybe I can do that a little bit.
Yeah,
I'll try.
And that'll be at 4:00 this afternoon. So tune back in then to talk to one of the brightest young athletes in the sport, making his way to his first CrossFit Games. So with that, we will see you next time on the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends.
Bye.